Okay, good. And webinar is being recorded. Happy to see that. Look at all the people filing in. Very nice.
Wish my eyesight was better so I could see it.
We'll get you new glasses. No problem, Pat. Good. Wow. Lots of people coming in. Lots of people coming in. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? If you can hear me, please put something in the chat. Maybe just slam on the keyboard or put a 1 in or a 2 or something like that. Just let me know if I'm coming through loud and clear, if my audio is okay or not. I hope so. I'm on my podcasting microphone, so should be good. Oh, a VIP here. We have Juan Rodriguez.
Such a supportive husband.
There we go. Okay, Steven says loud and clear. Tom says, yo, loud and clear. One. Lots of ones. Yep, yes. Okay, good. I'm going to take that as people can hear me. Wonderful. Well, I'm very happy to have everybody here tonight. Thank you very much for joining us on this lovely Thursday night. My name is Mikkel Thorpe. We are going to be doing a really special presentation today. I'm just going to give everyone maybe another 30 seconds or so to join the group. We still have lots of people filing in. If you guys can take 30 seconds and just kind of tell me where in the world you're calling in from, where you are right now, if you guys are an expat or if you are back in the States or in Canada, or if we've got anyone from Europe. I heard one person was going to try to sign in from Australia. I was like, it's probably like 3 o'clock in the morning or something over there, but okay, Julie is from Austin, Texas, Daytona Beach, Florida, Tom, Portugal. Lee is here. Hey, Lee, how are you? Good to see you. Washington State, Tucson, Arizona, Klamath Falls, OR, what's that, Oregon?
Oregon.
Oh, that's Kim. Hi, Kim, how are you? I should know where you guys are. Tyler from Ontario, good to see you, Tyler. Mississippi, Idaho Falls, Idaho. Nathan from Colorado. I've got a second monitor here, so that's why I'm looking off to the side. Chris, good to see you from Ottawa. Danny, Utah. Okay, I think we're doing really good. We got lots and lots of people here. I'm not going to read all of them, but there's probably another 100 or so people. So that's great. Well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited about today's presentation. Today, we're going to be talking about residency in Nicaragua, but specifically residency through investment in agroforestry. So we're going to be talking about the investments, what that entails, the immigration process, how it is all viewed. We're going to have a big Q&A at the end of this session. So feel free to put your questions in the chat box throughout the presentation. But also at the end, make sure you guys stay around. We're going to try to get to as many questions as we possibly can. With me today is my very good friend, Patrick Hebert and Ali Rodriguez. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. I think probably a lot of people know you already, but maybe 30 seconds. Pat, you go first.
All right, thanks, Mikkel. I appreciate being on your show again. And we've got some really exciting stuff to talk about tonight. So it's going to be a fun one. It's particularly fun because we get to help people on this one. And I really like that. It's a good, rewarding feeling. Well, my name is Patrick Hebert. I'm one of the co-founders of Eco Villages. So you may have seen Mikkel and Ellie and I and some others talk about that in the past. We also have a Vita Verde agroforestry farm, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. And not to take up too much time because we got a lot to talk about. So I'll just pass it on to Ellie and let you go.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Mikkel, for having us on again tonight to be in front of all of your people that trust you. And so that means that you trust us a little bit too, to bring this opportunity to them. So I appreciate you having us on. A fellow Texan, so shout out to my Texan that was there from Austin. I relocated to Central America about 5 years ago. And I have a story to share with you guys later on in the presentation about why I believe second residencies are so important. And this being a really affordable option for a second, third, fourth residency is why I'm really excited to be here to share it with you all today.
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. Trust is one of the biggest things. I think that you guys have to understand that anytime you come down to Latin America, especially if this is your very first time, you need to work with people that you trust. And Patrick and Ali are probably two of my closest friends down here in Panama. I think well, Ali was at the house on the weekend for my daughter's birthday. Pat, I think, was traveling at the moment, but really good people. So full support. Ali, I'm going to hand over the microphone to you. I will let you do a screen share. I'm very excited for today's presentation. I'll let you take it away, and I will put my video on mute and myself on mute, and I will see you after the presentation. Okay, guys?
Yeah, see
Thanks,
you in a
Mikkel.
bit. All right, so you've met now Patrick, who is a founder of Vida Verde Agroforestry, and myself, Ali Rodriguez, but we are just the people in front of you this evening or this morning, but there are tons of people in the background that really make this work and make it happen. You can see on the screen here, Hans, he is the agroforestry botanist, and the caretakers there at the bottom. Again, it takes a team. And Patrick, I know you have worked really closely with these guys over the last couple of years to get this up and going and get trees planted and replanted. So I'll let you talk a little bit about your extended team here.
Yeah, we have a great team, and of course, it's larger than all this as well. This is a good meet some of the team page, but Hans is very key. I mean, I know the plants and the trees pretty well, but Hans is like the expert. He's the botanist that, you know, went to school for this and make sure that the trees are doing great and really, you know, a lot of the brains behind everything that we're doing over there. So it's great to have him around and all the local folks that work at the farm and really have a great time. It's a great team, and you know we really enjoy with the team that we have there.
Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. I know that we do have a lot to cover, a lot of fun stuff and a lot of, you know, residency type stuff, and we definitely want to leave some time for questions. So let me just move forward here. So something about this opportunity is what piqued your interest, what made you sign up and come on this webinar this evening. And whether it was from the residency aspect or maybe the investment aspect or even just the reforestation aspect, maybe you are what we like to call tree huggers. You are here for a reason, and we're excited to share with you what this investment leads to in residency in Nicaragua. So moving forward, why do you want a second resident? This is where I wanted to share my story with you. So some of you that have spoken to me in the past, I recognize some names on the line here. You know that during COVID, I was actually stranded outside of my home country and when the borders closed. And luckily, I had a second residency. I already had that in my passport and good to go there. And I was able to get back home eventually. Otherwise, I would have been staying on my in-laws' couches for what ended up being 5 months. So having a second residency, it gives you that mental health insurance. It gives you that peace of mind, knowing that if something were to happen and either you want to get out of your home country, you want to just escape for a while, or maybe you know, something unexpected happens while you're traveling, that you're able to get back home. It gives you the right to stay in the country indefinitely, meaning you can come and go as you please. You actually get to go into the residence line at immigration, which is super. I found it to be definitely a big perk. You don't have to stand in the long lines. But then, of course, you know, the last point on the page here, and certainly not the least important, is allowing for that diversification of assets and having money in different parts of the world.
Yeah, if I can just add one quick thing in there, just a couple stories too. I was just talking to a friend the other day that the country will remain nameless, but a Caribbean country that they had bought or had a beautiful home on the beach built, and then when COVID hit, they weren't even allowed to go to it because this particular country didn't allow non-residents into the country during COVID. So, you know, that's kind of a, you know, heartbreaking story if you think, okay, this is where I'm going to go if crap hits the fan, and now you can't even go. So that was a bit crazy. And I like the mental health insurance thing, because one of the reasons I kind of wanted to put that on there is when my wife and I got married, she's a doctor, and she said, well, we got to have health insurance because we're traveling all over the place. And I said, yeah, but the healthcare down in Latin America is, by most standards, very, very inexpensive. And she's like, yeah, but we go to the US quite often too. And it's like, not cheap there. So we should get some health insurance. And, you know, I remember her saying, I need that health insurance to sleep at night. And I was thinking about residency, and that, you know, when I was kind of explaining to her, I need you know, I have a Nicaraguan residency and a Panamanian residency and the lease work permit and those things. And so I need that to sleep at night. So I was joking that it was my mental health insurance is the residencies, the Plan Bs and Cs residencies that I have.
Right, and you mentioned Plan Bs and Cs, and I wanted to talk about that on the next slide as well. But we have a saying where I come from that insurance is in case it happens, and so you know, that kind of comes into play here in case something happens, in case you just need a back pocket tool, you have it ready to go. But why Nicaragua? So you mentioned, Patrick, that you Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. There's nothing wrong with having multiple options, multiple residencies. And obviously we are here in Panama. I also have residency in Belize. So having these multiple options of places where we can go really helps with having that mental insurance and being able to sleep tonight. But so why Nicaragua? I mean, a lot of people are attracted to two of the biggest places, Panama and Costa Rica. The investor residency is about to explode here again in Panama, or increase again here in Panama by October of this year. So it went through a pretty significant increase last year, and we're going to see another one towards the end of this year. Costa Rica's residency just went up recently as well. And we're starting to see other countries catch on, and Nicaragua is definitely not paying attention. They're actually looking at it, and we have been hearing a little bit of rumor about the government deciding to up the investor residency minimums. So we're seeing it all around the region, Honduras, as you know, digital nomadism and people are finding their landing pads around the world. Those residencies are going up. So why Nicaragua? It is the most affordable residency. We are going to, I guess, reveal the whole price for the farm and your residency and all of that towards the end. But it's also one of the safest countries. You know, a lot of times we work with clients that are scared to come to the region. They're scared of Nicaragua because they've heard media, they've heard news stories, and they all paint Nicaragua in this bad light. But the reality is the people that are here are actually, they are safe, and people are friendly, and more times than not, they want to help you if something bad happens. You know, something that Patrick, I know you experienced a lot was in Nicaragua, they didn't have mandates for vaccines, and they didn't require vaccines of their citizens. And so when they, you know, they basically treated people as adults. You can make your decision. You inform yourself and make a decision of whether or not you want to wear the mask when you go grocery shopping. It makes it really easy to do business in Nicaragua as far as your daily activities like grocery shopping and tours and just all your daily everyday things. The official currency there is the Cordoba, but they do deal with US dollars as well. And not to mention that they have incredible scenery, lakes, volcanoes, obviously beach. So tons of stuff that you can do there as well. So when you're coming in and using that residency, you have a lot to explore and a lot to do when you get there.
And not to, you know, to overlook too much the lack of lockdowns, mandates, and no vaccine requirement. That was huge for a lot of people. Nicaragua is seeing a 20 or 30 times increase in the number of expats moving to it now, and mostly solely because of that. I mean, Nicaragua's always been beautiful and affordable and safe, but when when the COVID thing came out, and you know, the proof was in the pudding, which countries went a bit crazy and which ones just said, look, you're not children, we're not your parents, you get to act the way you want and you know, provide safety for your family in the way you believe is best. That was a huge thing for Nicaragua, and I appreciated that immensely, because it was sure nice to go somewhere, you know, walk around without masks and everything. So, you know, it really set itself apart right then, and the fact that it has the lowest of the lowest investment fees for residency is probably not going to last, because they're getting overwhelmed a little bit with the number of people applying for residency. So, you know, and that's one of the main reasons why.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that, you know, we may talk a little bit about later as well, though, is that a lot of the people that are getting through the residency process Before it was a lot easier and you had a little bit of flexibility on what you could invest in to get that residency, but now that's changing a bit too. Patrick, I know you've been talking to our lawyer, our attorney there in Nicaragua, and this is really why this investment into agroforestry is going to be something that is affordable, but also will help you in that residency process and get you over that hump.
Yeah, it's actually a really important point, Ellie. Thanks for bringing that up, because in the past, a lot of people would buy a home, for instance, in Nicaragua, and they'd use that as their investment investment in the country. But that's not really being allowed anymore, because the reason that the country has this investment residency program is for people to come down, create something that generates jobs for people, and having your own home that you stay in by the beach doesn't really do a lot for the country economics. So they've really started to clamp down on that. Whereas a couple of years ago, you could do that. You could say, oh, I'm buying a home and it costs X dollars and that's over the threshold. So away you go. You got your residency. That's not the way it is anymore. Now it has to be some real business, which is why we, just a few weeks ago that we really created this opportunity, and it's because it checks all the boxes and it's inexpensive. And a lot of people that were thinking, well, I'm just going to buy a home, they're just not, they're going to get rejected in the immigration with their residency if they try that route. And I mean, it's a little bit flexible. If you're buying a home and you're renting it out, technically that's a business, but the immigration offices are watching for that too. Are you saying you're going to rent it out and then just actually going to live in it, or is it a real business? So the beauty of this agroforestry farm is that it is a real business.
Right. So talk to us then. What is agroforestry? Because, a lot of times when you hear people talking about forests and farms and things like that, they may not necessarily understand the concept behind agroforestry. So talk to us a little bit about that and why you chose to go that route with this particular piece of land.
Well, I won't go into too much detail and we'll keep moving along, but this piece of property, this farm, was a peanut farm for the last couple decades or longer. And I acquired it in about 2005 or 6, something like that. So it's been about 15, 17, somewhere in years like that I've had it. But then I kind of realized that the way that they were farming it was, if you just have one mono crop and it's over and over and over again, and you don't even do summer fall, like allow land to breathe for a year or two, it just really, a crop like peanuts is really just a surface level rooted plant. So you're really just recycling the 6 inches of soil nutrients over and over again, and none of the plants there were going deeper. So what agroforestry does is it takes a cue from nature and says, well, if you go to any jungle or forest, you're going to see a mix of different kind of plants. You're going to see ones that have deep roots, like the teak trees. The teak trees get enormous and the roots go really deep. The avocado is kind of a mid-sized plant, and we're looking at things like stevia, or you can even see in the picture, that is actually a picture from the farm. And there's weeds, there's grass, there's all the peanuts that are left over still growing on the ground, and like I said, stevia that we're looking at going to be adding as well. So you get those shallow rooted plants, and the deep rooted plants like teak bring the soil nutrients from way underground back up to their leaves, and then the leaves fall off, and then it starts that whole cycle again. So it's really agroforestry is really a mix of agriculture and forestry. And part of the reason for that is just to better treat the land so you get the nutrients and you can do it more organically.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I know that in this on this particular opportunity, you have a couple of different types of avocados that you planted. Do you know? I'm going to put you on the spot.
You know what? I wrote them down because I knew you were going to do this to me. There's actually, it's interesting with there's four varieties of avocado mixed within the farm, and they have 2 flowering seasons. So one, at one point of the year, and then 6 months later, another one. So it's good for the revenue too, right? Because you get offset avocado fruit. And well, the types are, and I wrote them down, so I'm going to read them. But one's called on the first flowering season is the Benic. It's from Guatemala. It's a rich guacamole type of avocado, so you'd probably really love that one. The Choquete is a juicy Florida variety, and so those 2 are in that first season. And in the second season, they have Booth 8. Anybody that's a big avocado fan knows the William Booth name. He really brought in a lot of different varieties of avocado in for over, his family over centuries. And that's actually a mix. The Booth 8 is a mix of a Guatemalan and an Indian hybrid. And then there's a San Rafael, which is from California, but it's really popular in Nicaragua. A lot of times you'll see in the stores there, they use a lot of San Rafael. Good for guacamole as well. So
I just love avocados, so I want to try them all. But we talked a little bit about the land and why you chose to do this agroforestry and have a couple of different kinds of plants on the land. But why Cosiguina? So I know I always mess up that word. I've been practicing it all day. But
you got it right, Cosiguina.
So where is Cosiguina, and why is this a good place to have healthy trees and strong trees?
Yeah, well, Cosiguina, first of all, is a beautiful dormant volcano. You can see it in the picture there. It's got a big lagoon, and the freshwater lagoon in the inside, and hot springs all around it. It's actually pretty cool. There, you can stop on the way to the farms and pull over by the side of the road, and there's little ponds that are full of hot springs and actually crazy, fish and dragonflies. They all look different. I don't know. I guess the water temperature is like 100 and some degrees, then all the animals change too. So it's pretty cool to look at. But it's right at the very northwestern tip of the country of Nicaragua, and the Bay of Fonseca is where it's on. And you can see the ocean around it, and that you're looking over at El Salvador and Honduras across the bay. So I think we have one or two pictures later on here that shows kind of the farm and the view. But realistically, the reason why the trees are a good thing to have there is teak specifically needs a very specific season of dryness, and then a rainy season or a green season. And the Cosiguina area in Nicaragua there is exactly like that. It has about 6 months of very dry from late November to about May, and then the rest of the season is the green season where it rains a lot. And if if you get too rainy, then you don't get very good wood. It's just too soft, and teak is known for its high quality and hardwood. And then if it's too dry, the trees just don't grow. So realistically, that you need that mix. And there's areas in Latin America, obviously, that have it. You'll see teak growing in a number of areas, but the Cosiguina volcano area here also has very rich nitrogen volcanic soil, so that really helps as well. So the trees are growing amazingly well right now, and they love this season where it's kind of the rainy season from a couple months ago till October-ish. And they grow. You can almost watch them grow. They grow so fast right now.
I just love the big leaves as they grow up and they mature. Those leaves are just, you can use them as like hats. They're very large. But so you mentioned a little bit about how far the farm has come since it was a peanut farm until now. And here on the screen, you can actually see these are actual pictures of the property there. Talk to us a little bit about what we're looking at. I mean, is the top pictures, that's how you took over the land, or is that after you cleared the peanuts, or what are we looking at?
Well, I mean, every year they did a peanut crop, and unfortunately, the way peanuts are harvested, the peanuts are amazing, plants as well. They create a flower on the surface, then it goes into a pod. The pod, still on the stem, drops to the ground, digs into the ground, and the peanuts are actually in the ground. So they have to, at the end of the harvest season, they have to rip the whole plant out of the ground. And so every year it would just be, this surface peanut plant, and then it would be scorched earth like that, basically. And obviously it doesn't look very nice. And in the just under 2 years now that we've done the reforestation program with Teak and Avocado, you can already see that, the trees are growing well. The floor of what's going to be the forest, I mean, in a few years, the canopy will be much taller, and then you start getting the plants on the floor, the surface plants, the grasses and the weeds, and they're all important. And then the animal life starts moving in too, and you get insects and pollination and everything going on. So it's really a total change for the soil there, and really taking better use of the nutrients that are in that soil. So yeah, today you can see Hans standing beside some of the teak trees, and literally they grow, what are they, 10 feet tall, some of them now, and that's literally double from what they were a few months ago. So.
And how old would you say these trees are at this point?
In the pictures with Hans standing beside them, they're roughly between 18 months and 2 years. And you can
Wow.
see in the bottom there, the bottom left picture, he was holding the camera way over his head to try to get over the tops of the trees. I'm standing on the back of the truck, I think. And then you can see the Tiger Islands actually of El Salvador in the distance across the Fonseca Bay. So it's a really beautiful spot too.
Yeah, it actually is a really pretty location to have some trees.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see here, obviously your beautiful wife and her sister up there in the top right, who will be in communication with you guys at some point if you choose to move forward with this residency through investment opportunity. Her name's Andrea. So she may be the one that you're communicating with and getting everything squared away. But wow, incredible. The water and the coastline is literally right there.
Yeah, the beach is beautiful. And another thing too, that there's a bit of a cliff there, and which is important because, most trees don't like salt spray. So the cliff this farm is right on the beach, but the cliff keeps the general salt spray off of the plants. So that's why they also grow well. So.
Yeah, awesome. And this is a kind of a bonus here. It's not just for residency. It's actually going to pay you back in the long run, quite handsomely, actually. But Patrick, we've talked a lot about avocado, and I realize that we know what teak is and we know what it's used for. Maybe there are some people on the line that aren't quite sure or haven't heard about teak. Can you give us just a quick kind of description about teak and why this this kind of wood is in high demand?
Yeah, well, teak is amazing wood. It's used a lot in the marine industry and for high-end furniture, and that mostly because of its beauty and its resilience. It's kind of resilient to termites, it's resilient to fire and everything. In fact, until the plants are growing, after about 4 or 5 years, they basically are even resilient to fire when they're growing. So it's a pretty amazing tree. It's also very expensive, which is why it's creates a good return. And then when you mix the avocado, the issue with if you just have teak, the issue is really that you're waiting an awful long time because it takes till about 18 years, and then you do some thinnings. You're doing thinnings before that, but they don't really generate much revenue. But when they're about 25 years old, that's when you get kind of the big score from teak. But by mixing in the avocado is starting to fruit in 4 or 5 years, sometimes even earlier. And then, that they give a good return too. So it kind of levels out the return you see after on the chart there. And we have a brochure for the project, and you can see a lot more detail on the ROI and anticipated ROI. These returns are estimated based on our experience, based on Hans's experience, based on having worked in this field for a while. And so obviously we don't guarantee what the payback would be, but that it's reasonable to expect somewhere around these numbers. And a lot of people invest in teak and avocado and different kinds of agroforestry, totally regardless of whether it provides a residency. So to me, it's got two big bang for the bucks in this package. So
Absolutely. Oh, I love this one. This is one of my favorite parts of our presentation, and one of the really cool things that you and Andrea do to give back to the community. So tell us a little bit about help them help themselves and how the agroforestry team kind of gives back to their local community, their local neighborhood.
Sure, yeah. Well, we started Help Them Help Themselves Foundation over a decade ago, and we've done a lot of things, built clinics and built homes and built schools, and done a lot of medical missions, dental missions. My wife Andrea runs those, and she's a doctor, and we get doctors from all over the world that come in and help do all sorts of checks on people and dental work and everything. So it's been great. We also help giant sea turtles. In fact, we created a giant sea turtle sanctuary right beside the farm here. So if you saw in that earlier picture, there's kind of that long sand spit that goes out into the bay. That's one of the most popular places there's 4 or 5 varieties of giant sea turtles in Nicaragua that they come and they lay their eggs there. And so we protect the eggs, we put them in a sanctuary, hatch the baby turtles and release them. So, it's a great program. This picture here was actually just not too many weeks ago, or right beside the farm, where these are a lot of the families of the workers there, and we just had kind of a little picnic and had brought some different entertainment and music and band and stuff like that. They had a great time, so it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. I love it. So here we are at the magical hour to reveal. So how do I do it? What is this going to cost me? So we have put together a package for you guys on the line with us. It's going to be as easy as we can make it for you. $39,000 gets you a half-acre parcel with the Teak and Avocado on it. But it will include your residency application costs. And what that means is we are going to introduce you to our attorney in Nicaragua. She does speak English. So if you're on the line and you were worried about there being a language barrier and going through the process, have no fear. We've gotten that covered for you. So it's about $2,800 value that we're including in this webinar special for you on the line. So, and I want to note something very important here also. If you look down on the bottom right, kind of a freehold titled ownership of a half-acre parcel. Freehold title, that means you own the title to the land. And Patrick, why is that so important to somebody that's looking at other investment opportunities just like this? Why is this different?
Well, a lot of other opportunities out there are just for harvest rights, where you don't own the land, you get the produce from the land, but then when that harvest is done, you're done. And in this case, you own the land, just as if you want to build a house on it, build a house on it. You want to do anything with it, it's fully titled, transferred over to your name. Well, it'll be transferred into a company that you own, because that's part of the process of getting an investor residency in Nicaragua. But it's a very very simple process, but there's steps that you have to go to. So we just wanted to make it really simple for everybody. This is the part that I really like, because I went through the school of hard knocks getting my residencies, because I didn't know anybody that knew how to do it, and I would try to do it on my own, and took a long time and made a lot of mistakes, but finally got there. But now it's just like, we know a really good residency lawyer. We're including the different pieces of the process you need to do. You got to set up a company. She does that. You become the owner of that company. That company buys the property, or has the property transfer the title into that company. That gives you the right to apply for the residency, and it can all be done in one package through our lawyer.
Right. So if you decide to move forward with residency through this agroforestry investment on or before August 15th, we will include those residency costs as part of your package price.
That was a little perk for Mikkel's. For the people that follow what Mikkel does, we thought, well, let's give him something nice and throw in all that process as part of the fee.
I appreciate you taking care of my people, Patrick. Good work, sir. Good work.
Anytime, my friend.
Yep. So some additional peace of mind here. Obviously, if you choose not to care about the harvest rights, you're not worried about the harvesting of the avocado and the teak, you don't have to worry about this either. However, we want to make sure that the trees are taken care of, they're growing straight. Again, Hans goes out and checks and does his thing on the trees and make sure they're growing properly, and making sure all the irrigation is working as needed and things like that. So the maintenance is $27 a month. Typically, we will have that invoice to you 3 months at a time. And then insurance, this is what's really, I think, important to talk about, is the insurance, because a lot of times we get asked questions about hurricanes, natural disasters, earthquakes, what happens if cows come on the farm and eats the avocado. So this insurance at $38 a month says that if any of those events happen, natural disasters or unforeseen events like cows, that we will replant those trees for you. So, and Patrick, I know that that's something that you actually encountered before. I mean, obviously you can't keep cows off the property, so it is something that could happen. But we're giving you some insurance in place just in case it does. And
Well,
again, like
sorry.
you mentioned also, up until a certain point in the tree's lives, they are resistant to certain things like fire and bugs and things like that. But there is that fragile state in the very beginning. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, fortunately the trees are large enough now that the cows don't really bug them anymore, but you're right, we had one of those issues. But, and then like I said, what, about 4 or 5 years in, the teak is really very resilient to almost anything. I mean, they don't mind storms, like even, this area doesn't really get hurricanes, but even if it did, they're okay with wind. They love the rain, so they'll enjoy that. But you know, there's always a chance of fire. We keep the forest floor clean to avoid that as much as possible. But like I said, when teak trees are, let's call it 5 years and older, they're pretty resilient to fire too. The leaves might burn off, but they'll be alive and they'll just grow them back. So if people wanted insurance right now and then decided, you know what, 4 years from now, I'm not going to continue the insurance, that's an option too. I mean, the plants do get much hardier. And on maintenance, I just think for $27 a month, that's as, you know, absolutely low as we could do it. We put in all the irrigation system, the lines are all there already. This farm was intended to be for my family, right? And so when it only just recently realized we need to come up with another solution that's better for residency. And so that's why we started subdividing the farm. But because we already had the well dug and all the irrigation lines in, the staff that takes care of the farm and everything, we were able to make it really inexpensive to do the maintenance. So it's definitely worth it. I mean, you're welcome to hire somebody else or do your own maintenance on it or whatever you like. But the trees do need pretty regular pruning. The forest floor needs cleaning. Obviously they need watering during a little bit of water during the dry seasons until they're large enough or the roots are deep enough to not need the watering. But I think it's very, very reasonable, the prices we put on here.
Perfect. So financing options, we do have financing available to you. You can see here on the screen again, we'll be happy to talk about these various options and how that fits into your timeline and your personal situation. Just know that there are available financing options. And your next step. So if you are ready to move forward, it's pretty painless. You get to talk to myself or Andrea that you saw there a couple slides back. We will send you a form. It's basically 2 pages long that gives us pretty much just your information, how many parcels you would like to buy. And Patrick, I have a question for you here about that here in just a second, but how many parcels you would like to buy and own. And then we will prepare your ownership package, the insurance agreement, maintenance agreement if you so choose, and then of course the sales agreement. And then we will introduce you to the attorney in Nicaragua to get you started on your residency process. So it can happen pretty much within a couple of weeks. And then of course the residency process. Patrick, I know we've talked about this. What are you hearing from our attorney there in Nicaragua? Is she seeing about the same 3-month or so turnaround on residencies?
Yeah, about 3 to 6 months. As I mentioned earlier, Nicaragua is a very popular country right now to get residencies in because of how they handled COVID, and you know, a lot of people are seeing that. So you know, it is creating a bit of a slowdown, but she knows the immigration people very well and gets, you know, kind of gets hers into the front of the line. So it should be, you know, within the 3 to 6 months. There's a bit of paperwork gathering in terms of you know, health records and police checks and things like that you have to do as part of the residency program. So it's not all on the Nicaraguan side. There's some gathering of information that takes a little bit of time too. So, but it's pretty quick. I mean, by general standards, that's pretty quick. So.
Awesome.
And if you get started now, you know, that's the best thing, because we don't know, like you were talking about earlier, I fully expect Nicaragua is going to you know, can increase their you know, investor residency. I mean, I know, and Mikkel, I think you mentioned the other day, you know, we're talking about how Panama used to be basically between $5,000 and $10,000, and now for the friendly nations visa, which means like countries that Panama recognizes as friendly, it's 200,000, and in October it's going up to 300,000. And if you're not in friendly nations countries, then it's $500,000 that you have to invest. So relative to $39,000, you know, the Nicaragua bar is actually 35,000. They call it 30, but they want it over 35. It's just, we chose a piece of size of land that we could sell for under $40,000, and that, you know, that looks better also to immigration than if you're right on the bar. So another reason for how we
And like
came up with. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and you know, just having multiple residencies, and this one's super affordable compared to some of the other ones that are out there right now. So I do want to mention, if we have crypto people on the line, we do accept cryptocurrencies as a form of payment. We have a finance director that has been very diligent in finding solutions for people that are maybe facing challenges when moving money out of their home country. So we've got a lot of experience with that, and we're happy to work with you and make sure that the process, like I said, is just as smooth as possible and pain-free as possible. But Mikkel, I'm going to hand it back over to you here, sir. And we're happy to have been on with you today. And down here at the bottom of the screen, you see an email address. That email address is just for Mikkel's people. So use it in the subject line. If you'll just put something about agroforestry or Teak and Avocado, you can email us, let us know that you're ready to take that next step, and we'll continue that conversation with you via whatever platform you prefer the most, whether it's email or Telegram or Signal, whatever is best for you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. What a great presentation. I hope everyone appreciated that and got a lot of value. I really think that Nicaragua is pretty much the best opportunity at the moment to get a Plan B residency. As Pat was mentioning earlier, Panama has gone from 5,000 to 200,000. Costa Rica is at 150,000. If you want to get straight to permanent residency in Mexico is 200,000. Colombia is 160,000. Brazil is 200,000. Greece is 250,000 euros. Portugal is 500,000 euros. Ireland is 500,000 euros. So when you're talking about something at $39,000, it is an incredible deal. And I would highly doubt that it will stay this way for very long. What normally happens is countries look at the neighboring countries and see what they are doing, and they bring their prices up to match. Okay. And you might think, well, everybody's going to be going into the one country and, you know, it's a competitive advantage for them. Actually, it doesn't matter. When the new countries change their price and they go up, people still go after them. I have as many people coming down here to Panama at $200,000 as I did at $5,000. It's just a lot more of a commitment. That's what it comes down to. So we've got lots of questions. I hope you guys are ready. I thought, though, before we get into the questions, I would find this one from Chris. He just writes, "I'm in." I thought that was a good way to start it off.
All right.
Awesome,
Perfect.
Chris. So there's an email address there, expat@ecovillages.life. Shoot the guys an email and Ali will be able to take care of you. Okay, let's go through these one by one here. Okay, Samantha says, this is in no particular order, but I'm going to try to get to every single question I can. Samantha says, is the package limited to one applicant for residency? I assume this has to do with family getting the residency. Can you guys talk on that front, please?
Sure. Do you want to take that one, Ellie?
Well, sure. So the $2,800 residency package is for 2 people. There are some really minimal additional costs for other dependents like children that we can definitely talk with you about offline just for your scenarios specifically. But so it is for 2 people, but dependents like children will require another minimal additional cost.
Amazing. Karen asks question about annual charges, which you pretty much covered, and she acknowledged that, but she did have one other point. Land taxes. Are there any land taxes that people need to be aware of for owning this farm? And if so, what would they entail?
And I'll let you answer that, Patrick, but I'm going to say hi to Karen. Hi, Karen.
All right. Yeah, there are taxes. There's actually two costs that we didn't list in here. They're minimal, but probably should have added them in. I actually forgot. because you're buying this property with a business, the business is required to basically file an empty tax return. And in Nicaragua, most people from first world countries think, okay, I file my taxes once a year and it's kind of a reconciliation of whether I paid too much or too little and I get a return or I have to pay more. These countries in Latin America don't really do that. It's a tax at source. So basically you pay what you pay and there is no annual return type of filing. So it's about for a accountant basically that you just attach to your company, it's about $10 a month for those filings. They're basically empty filings until the avocado and the trees start producing, and then you've got revenue coming in, and so then it's a real filing, but it's still very
that's
simple.
A different thing though. That's to be expected if you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Inside the country, you're going to be paying taxes on that, but the land taxes for the filing should be about $10 a month.
The land taxes it's actually 0.9% of the total. So paying $39,000, it would be around $360 a year in actual property tax.
Okay, perfect. Anthony asks, how many people per lot could get residency? So I guess this is kind of an add-on to the family question. Or it could be a question of, can he have other people get residency off of the same plot? I'm not exactly sure.
If it's your immediate family, it's whatever your immediate family size is. If you have 9 kids, they're part of the immediate family. If it's unrelated people, it's probably, to be honest, it's probably 2. I mean, the lawyers will say, well, we can try for 3 or 4 unrelated people buying one package together or one property together, but that's it's not likely to fly. It's best if you keep it to a family, or brothers or sisters or something like that want to get together. But I've seen it work with 2 unrelated people that bought a package together.
Well, and the way that this normally works in residencies all over the world is you have a primary applicant. The primary applicant can be the husband or the wife, or it doesn't really matter on that front. And then you sponsor the rest of your family. So in my case, when I came down here to Panama, I was the primary applicant. I sponsored my wife, I sponsored my children, and they got residency through me. So it's one residency package, which covers the entire family, if that makes sense.
And in this case, in Nicaragua, because you're creating a corporation, if you list 2 owners in that corporation, the owners will get that deal, right? And then they can kind of sponsor their people. But you get beyond that too far, and then the immigration looks at that and says, oh, you're trying to go a cheap route, and that's not going to work. So.
Yeah, I would suggest not trying to game the system, because it's already a very good deal. And what you end up doing is shooting yourself in the foot. You think you might save a couple of dollars, and then a year later, 2 years later, they find out and they cancel one of the residencies, and now the price is at $200,000 and you can't get it back. So it's like, just go the normal route. Okay, no name on this one. It just says anonymous, but is there a possibility to buy the land, the avocado and the teaks, and have it managed and not get residency? Is there a difference in the price for that? Thank you.
I hadn't really thought, I mean, a lot of people do that. I mean, we're sort of throwing in the $2,800, but I guess I'm put on the spot here. So if you're not going for the residency, then we don't have that cost. So we would take $2,800 off the price.
Okay. As you like. I would think that the $2,800 is a bonus that you're willing to cover, but if for this person you're gonna do that, that's very generous. I think you're gonna.
I would recommend doing the residency anyway.
Yeah.
Someday you'll really appreciate the fact that you did. Yep. Even if you don't use it, to me, like we talked about, it's an insurance policy, right? So it's nice to know if you ever need it, it's there.
Karen would like to know, what is the minimum investment for residency? I know you mentioned it once, but maybe you can mention it again. And then she asks, what will be the all-in costs, including costs to incorporate the company? Literally everything. Just break down the prices for me again for Karen.
Yeah, so the bar in Nicaragua right now is $30,000, but generally immigration will tell you you better spend 35 or more, because if you're too close to the bar, it looks like you're gaming the system, to be honest. And so that is the actual number, but the $39,000 pretty much includes all your, I mean, it includes creating the company, it includes the subdividing of the parcel that you're acquiring. It includes the legal fees for the application for residency, and really the only things are the future costs of, you know, like the maintenance and insurance if you want it. You don't have to take it. Then your annual property tax, and if you are going for the residency, it'll be that monthly filing, a few dollars monthly for that.
Yeah, and I think, let me clarify, because you own the land. That's really where the cost is coming in initially, is the cost of the value of the land. And then the trees and all of that are kind of the bonus on top of the land, right? And then the residency is like another bonus on top of that. So I don't know if that helps, Karen, answer your question, but so the land itself, Patrick, is what you had divided up at the $35,000 mark, or $39,000 mark, sorry.
Correct. Right. So yeah, it's just, we figured out, you know, our costs of obviously planting all the trees and doing all the things we had to do to get them growing, and fertilizing and all those things, and the caretaking, and figured we can make a very attractive package here at $39,000. I wish somebody had, you know, what was the gentleman's name, Chris, that said I'm in. That was me in 2005, and I just wish I'd had somebody send me something like this and go, yeah, all I got to do is send you $39,000 and you take care of all of that for me. That would be really nice. I can go through the horror stories of my application 15, 17 years ago, whatever, and that this is really nice, nice and easy.
Absolutely. Mike would like to know, can clients request more detailed annual projections for revenue, expenses, etc.?
Yeah, our regular brochure, we didn't want to go into a whole lot of detail today because we knew we were going to get a lot of questions and spend time on that. But please request, you know, use the email expat at email there and request the brochure. The brochure has a page that kind of breaks down, you know, how many trees and everything. You're going to start with about 200 teak trees on your half acre. It's going to, over 4 or 5 different thinnings, it's going to come down to about 40 mature trees. In the end, you're going to have a couple dozen avocados, and it has columns, and it breaks down kind of all the line items over the years in the kind of an ROI, anticipated ROI sheet.
Amazing. So I have Keith, Joshua, and Anthony, who are all requesting to go back to the financing slide. I did see that went by really, really quick. So you guys kind of have to have like photographic memory. So maybe leave that one up there for a moment, Ali.
Sure.
And maybe you guys can just kind of talk a little bit more through this slide, because I think that this is important and a very good opportunity for those that it makes sense for.
Yeah, I'm, you know, we did gloss over it a little bit quickly to save some time, but it's really important. I mean, you know, $39,000 is still $39,000, and not everybody has that sitting around and really want to take advantage of this opportunity now. So basically what we were willing to do is saying, well, you know, let's make this even better for people. They can choose a financing option, and you know, the first one there is basically same as cash, no interest if you want to pay it off within 6 months. And the bottom one gives you up to 2 years to pay it off with a pretty small interest amount. And at the end of the day, you can start your residency process right away. We're going to basically, you know, do all the documentation that says you bought the farm. The financing is on the side, you know, that nobody needs to know about that except you and us. And basically that saves you, you know, if that makes it easier for you, you can get, you know, can get started for as low as $5,000. So I think that's a pretty incredible price.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know that you guys were going to do a financing option. So that's amazing. I like to kind of pay for things all in one and be done with it. But, you know, for some people on the line who might not be liquid at the moment, I think that this is a very good option. And the interest rates are very reasonable. That's very, very, very reasonable. Okay, we have a question here. Can I own the land in my personal name and not create a Nicaraguan company?
You can, but that won't get you residency. The Nicaraguan, it's called SA, Sociedad Anónima. That's my terrible Spanish, but it's basically the equivalent of an LLC in Latin America. So if you want to go for residency, you're going to need to create the SA, the local LLC, limited liability company. If you don't, if you're not interested in the residency side of this, then no, you can own it in your own personal name.
Okay, great. Chris asks, for residency, what are the requirements to maintain residency, i.e. any requirements to visit or stay in Nicaragua? This is an important question.
Yeah, it is. And it's one that we should have mentioned already. Thanks for asking that. So with Nicaragua's residency program right now, as of today, and like we've been talking about, they tend to change and they get more expensive, and sometimes they change the rules. But they're with the $35,000 limit, they may not, but they can ask you to kind of check in every 6 months in person in the country. So to keep your residency up to date. They really are creating these residencies so that people are spending money and spending time in the country. However, if you invest over 75,000, then they don't require that. You know, like I said, you might not have to, but you might, and so you never really know. So if you want to be sure to kind of get over that $75,000 barrier, you could buy 2 parcels. And we've sold several of that, where people buy 2 parcels for 78,000. That gets them over the $75,000 bar, and then they don't have to worry about whether they're going to be asked to come in and check in once in a while in Nicaragua.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. You know, we're talking about financing, we're talking about the minimum investments, but you guys can really think about this as a viable investment. Like, I would fully expect some people to come in and grab 4, 5, 6 parcels of these and grab the residency for themselves and have it as a good investment. You know, don't just think about this as the minimum to get in. You actually get a lot more options if you go on a little bit on the higher side, and if you're getting multiple parcels. So yeah, I would fully expect that out of some of the people here.
Yeah, and just to that point, Mikkel, that, you know, it's just in the last month or so that we've created the residency option. I mean, people were investing in these parcels just for the investment, right? And
yep.
You know, obviously, if you know, we're based out of Nicaragua and Panama. I'm a Canadian, so I don't have any SEC issues. If you're American, that's up to you to check into. It's not, they have no jurisdiction over us and our company or what we do. But for people that have some concerns about, you know, what the SEC rules are on investment, we're not making any promises. We're just selling you a piece of land with some trees on it. So.
Yeah, well, I think that is true, but at the very same time, your name is your business and my name is my business. And I would not allow you to present if I didn't trust you 100%. And you run a successful business of your own, and you would not be selling anything that you didn't fully believe in. So I think it is worth mentioning that, you know, although we can't make guarantees on this by any means, we would not be putting our own names at risk if we thought that there was anything that this was not going to do what we believe it will do, if that makes sense.
Well, and you know, to that point as well, I'm one of you, right? I bought this farm for my family and did, you know, put teak and avocado on it. And this was, you know, my way of getting residency in Nicaragua many years ago. So.
Mm-hmm. Ron says he's in. I'm in, but he has to go. So he's asking for you guys to email him more information. Ali, maybe you'll be able to take a note of Ron and send him an email. Congratulations, Ron. That's awesome.
That's great. Welcome to the family.
There we go. Keith would like to know, how is revenue determined? Is it actually revenue from your half-acre parcel, or is it the entire project and then divided up based on the percentage of project ownership? Great question.
It is a great question. And I actually struggled with this in the beginning because initially I thought, you know, it should be kind of a blended average of what everybody's parcels are returning. However, you know, we have people that might want to build a house on theirs. which means they're going to take some trees out. We have other people that don't do the maintenance and they don't really care. They got their residency. They don't really care about the trees. So it's really going to be, you know, directly related to your half acre or multiple half acre parcels. And, you know, again, that was also one of the reasons why we kind of created the insurance program, because, you know, if some freak accident happens to just your parcel, you know, we want to make sure that you're covered, right? And it's not singled out that way. So it is, you know, there shouldn't be much of a difference. I mean, all these parcels are right beside each other. The weather's the same for all of them. The soil's the same for all of them. The tree care is the same. So it shouldn't vary very much. I mean, you know, it could be a 2% difference or something from your neighbor's parcel because, you know, your trees grew a little bit thicker than theirs. I don't know, but that's pretty much it.
Okay. Joshua would like to know, he said, well, first of all, he says, great presentation. Thank you very much, Joshua. And he's asking if this is the same team that brought us Valencia Village. I think that he's talking about the Panama presentation that we did through Eco Villages.
Yes, Veritas Village. We're going to do an update probably on that in about a month or a few weeks at least. That's very much moving on. And yes, it's the same team. We have a company called Eco Villages that designs and develops freedom-oriented, sustainability-oriented communities around the region here in Latin America and in a number of countries. And we also, you know, feel that the agroforestry is very kind of related in terms of sustainability and freedom-oriented as well, and, you know, getting residencies and things like that. We're just really about finding ways for expats to have great lifestyles, and this is one of them.
Yeah, and you know, and to kind of add on to that is not everybody wants to have a house as part of their residency process. So this was another way to kind of diversify your holdings. It's not all just real estate. It's now agroforestry too.
Well, I think that I would fully expect, and I actually know a couple of my clients who will be doing exactly this. They will be getting a property that they would live in and rent up here in the highlands in Panama. And that's kind of, they would either live in it or rent it out. And that's kind of a plan A option. And Nicaragua is a true blue plan B option. I mean, this is an additional residency on top of Panama. For a lot of people, I don't think it will be which one is better, this or that. I think that if funds allow, then it's both, you know, so this is better than Panama. It's a very different type of thing, completely different product, different country, different climate, different everything, really.
Exactly. And you hit the nail on the head there, Mikkel. I think the plan A, plan B, plan C, you can never have too many plans. You know, going back to our mental health insurance is what we call it. And, you know, I can sleep at night because I have multiple residencies. If something unusual happens in one of the countries, my wife and I spend most of our time now in Panama and sometime in Nicaragua and sometime in the other countries. But, you know, if something goes kind of haywire in one of the countries, then we have the other ones to fall back on. So exactly. I think it's the best plan. And like we've been saying, it's better to do it while it's, you know, as affordable as it's likely ever going to be.
Perfect. Kim says, I was informed through an agency that I have Teak through that Nicaragua does not allow dual residency. Was the information incorrect or has it recently changed? I would say the information is incorrect.
Yeah, I'm a living example of that.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, residency, yes. Citizenship is different, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Probably means citizenship.
The residency, it's fine. You can have multiple residencies.
Yep.
No problem there. Okay, going through, still lots of questions here. Keep them coming, guys. I love all the questions. Keep putting them in the chat. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. Let's see. Jerry would like to know, can I pay the annual maintenance and insurance? Can I pay the maintenance and insurance annually?
Yes, we have some people that are doing that already. It's just simpler. You know, unfortunately, these days, bank fees, wiring fees sometimes can be pretty pricey. So it's better to do it in a bit more of a bulk shot.
Paulo would like to know, do you guys have a Nicaraguan national as a corporation partner? Or are you owning everything in your own? Any dodgy partners we need to be aware of in this?
No,
No.
it's just us, just me and my son.
It's funny.
And-
When I
and-
used to live in the UAE, and the way it was structured in the UAE is the locals had to own 51% of the corporation, and
Oh, wow.
then they would have no say over the corporation. So there'd be a secret private document in the back end, and then you would have to pay them like $10,000 or $20,000 a month, or sorry, a year, just as a flat fee. And so some of the Emiratis would go around and they would open like 100 business or 500 business with different expats and collect this $10,000 or $20,000 fee from all of them and just sign off on everything. And that's all they did. It's
Nice.
super dodgy, but we don't
good
have
living
that,
if you
so.
can do it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
and in this region, I guess Mexico is one of the kind of the few that has, requirement for a trust. Depending if you're within the 100 miles of the border or 50 miles of the beach, the ocean, then you have to have a local be part of the company. But in Nicaragua, once you're a resident, that you can have the company totally in your own name. So.
Awesome. I have another anonymous one. This one's kind of off track, but I'm going to ask it anyways because we kind of opened the door. If I buy a $200,000 home in Veritas Village, is that going to qualify me for Panamanian residency if I bought it as a business and rented out as part of the year? Otherwise, what do people do? I have to leave the country every X number of months. I'll take this one. It will qualify you for residency. It's fine. You don't have to worry about the rental. I mean, we might need to deal with taxes issues and things like that, but we would deal with all of that with the lawyer. But basically, if you're making under a certain amount of money, then you wouldn't have any tax issues in Panama. Your home country, obviously, I have no idea where you are from, so I couldn't comment on that regard, but it will be able to get you your residency as long as you are from one of the 50 friendly nations, United States, Canada, Great Britain, Germany, France, Spain, these types of countries, then that'll be fine. And as soon as you have the title deed for the property, you'll be able to pay for your residency. Did I miss anything on that one, Pat? Or
No, you're bang on. That's one of the differences between Panama and Nicaragua. Panama was more expensive, but basically accept any kind of investment into the country.
exactly.
Nicaragua is less expensive, but they have kind of specifics about why it's less expensive.
Correct. Harley would like to know, can you buy more than one lot?
Yes, and as we talked about a little bit earlier, we have a number of people that have picked up parcels, and so if you want an acre, that's 2 parcels. You want 2 acres or 4 parcels. We make them all contiguous, so your land is all together, and that way, perhaps in the future it's a beautiful location. If you did want to have even a little vacation home or something there, excuse me, you could do that. It doesn't take that much space to remove a couple trees and put your home there. So yeah, you can do whatever you'd like. If you want more parcels, you're welcome to acquire more parcels.
Perfect. Okay, same-sex partners. Can we get residency together? Can they both be the owner of the business?
Yes, in fact, we had that question a few weeks ago, and I was told by the lawyer that yes.
Amazing. That is not the case in many Latin American countries, unfortunately. So I know of some that it is possible, and I know of lots of countries where they will not accept. So that is very interesting. Okay, Johnny would like to know, is the property off grid? How many lots will be sold? Thanks. So two-part question, I suppose.
Yeah, right now it's completely off grid. The closest electricity is not far, about a kilometer away, I guess. There's a little town called El Rosario right at the peak of the country there, and they just got electricity in the last couple of years. And then there's Potosí, which is about 12 kilometers, so call it 8 miles away. That has a ferry to El Salvador, in fact, if you want to go across the bay, and a couple of hotels. But that's kind of a more larger town, not so much a village. But at this point, it's completely off grid. I'm looking at potentially building a home there. We build a lot of completely off grid homes, so within eco villages. So I'm kind of thinking of creating one there myself. The beach is
Cool.
spectacular, and it's really a beautiful area. And I talked so much, I forgot what the other part of the question was.
And I dismissed the question, so I'm not sure what it was either. It
Do you
was
remember it, Ellie?
how many lots are you going to be selling?
Yes, yep.
Oh, I mean, we have a pretty big farm. Like I said, the initial intent was this was for my family, but I have a fair amount of property there. Honestly, off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly how many we're going to go. Let's see how many people in this webinar decide to go, and hopefully we don't run out and everybody that wants one will get one. But
yeah, I would say that this is not an opportunity that is going to be around forever. So this is not like, you know, oh, you come back in a year from now and it's still going to be there. I can pretty much guarantee it will not. So this is an opportunity to get this and to do it now and make a decision and move forward on it. And, you know, I'm sure the guys will be happy to answer any questions you would have. Shelby would like to know, I assume these prices are in US dollars. Yes, in US dollars. Michael says, we're in. Congratulations, Michael. That's amazing. I'm super happy for you.
That's great, Michael.
Welcome to the family.
Sounds like a mafia or something.
I think you would have to say it in like a lot deeper voice or something.
It's the avocado
Welcome to the
mafia.
family. If I finance, is there a prepayment payment? I'm not sure what that means.
Like a
Let's go
penalty
back.
for
Oh,
prepaying?
yeah,
No,
there's no
it's-
penalties if you want to pay off early, if that's what the question is.
Cool. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
so
if
that's
you-
a great question. So if they do the financing option and then halfway through they decide they just want to do a balloon payment and clear the rest of it, is there a penalty?
No, we'll just wash the rest of the interest that would have been due.
Amazing. Mike would like to know, can the investor select the lot on the farm? Can they choose their own spot?
Unfortunately not, because I don't want orphaned parcels amongst our farm. So we're just, as people sign up, we just go to the next one. But they're all very close to the ocean. They're all very, you know, beautiful locations. So it's not really gaining one thing over another, to be honest. So.
Okay.
And speaking to that, I did see a question, sorry, about the blueprint or the map of the property. We do have that,
Cool.
that we can definitely share with people that are interested.
Cool. I will dismiss that question when it comes in then, Ali. Thank you for jumping the
felt
queue
like it-
on that
I
one.
felt like it fit there, you know, so.
I'm doing my best here. I'm doing my best. Okay. Is Nicaragua a territorial tax country? Yes, it is.
Yes. And for any Canadians on there that want to get residency like me, I'm Canadian, and drop your Canadian residency,
Like
you
me.
really, like you and I, Mikkel, you know, you lose your tax burden, basically. You know, I no longer have to pay taxes in Canada because I'm not a Canadian resident anymore. I'm a Canadian citizen. I have my Canadian passport, but a resident of the other countries down here.
Okay. Tom would like to know, if I start with 5,000 down and then pay it off early, do I still have to pay all the interest, or can I just pay off the balance left? So it's kind of expanding on the question that we had a moment ago.
Yeah, so just pay off the balance. We're not trying to penalize anybody with interest. We're charging interest because there's some time value of money and some administration on doing financing. So as soon as you pay it off, that'll be just based on whatever balance is left, and no more interest.
Joshua says, great. I can't wait for that update. I think this is the Veritas Village, and waiting to buy into both. Thanks for bringing this to us, Mikkel. You're welcome. I'm glad that you guys like this. I'm glad that you get a lot of value out of this, Josh, and I'm really happy for you. This is amazing opportunity, and Veritas Village is going to be super exciting. Pat and I went up there a couple months ago to view the property, and it's gorgeous, and we've already selected the slot that I'm going to be having a home there with Spence's help, and he was sending us videos after like another trip there. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, Anonymous would like to know, how are the lots divided? Do you have more detail on the property blueprint? This is the one that you were... Okay, so she's going to send you... Send an email, and Ali, see, I don't pre-read the questions. I kind of just wing it and I just ask them as I get them. So
And I can't even read them. I'm too far away from the screen, so I'm kind of hoping.
I told you, we're getting you new glasses, buddy. New glasses, it's coming. Okay.
It's not about pre-reading, Mikkel. It's as they like go through my scroll. It just happened to scroll by, you know?
Yeah. Of course. Okay, Gaushan would like to know, what are the yearly taxes on a half-acre parcel? I believe I heard nearly $3,900 per year. No, not correct. Not correct.
300 and well, it's less than 1%. So 1% would be $390 a year. So I'm going to say it's about whatever the math is, 365. So call it $30 a month.
Yep. Krista would like to know, how large is the parcel of land? I guess the overall parcel. How big is the farm?
Oh, I should know that off the top of my head. We have about a little over 100 acres, I guess. So if we wanted to divide it all, we'd have a couple hundred parcels, but I want to keep some. So well, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see how many people are interested in this, and we want to help everybody that we can. I mean, this is a big part of what we do, and a big part, our philosophy is helping people find their ability to sleep at night and their peace of mind, like I have. And so we'll try to make it work for as many people as we can.
Gaushan would also like to know, who is going to invoice you for this fee? So I guess from the taxes for the property taxes, how is that done?
Basically your accountant that you would have attached, or the lawyer would probably help you with that. The invoice for the actual purchase of the property will come from our company, and then annually the local municipality is the one that you pay for the taxes. But we'll likely bundle that all together for everybody and go in kind of at once and pay the taxes.
Okay. What happens to residency if one does not go to the country every 6 months? So if they were only going to get one parcel opposed to two, and they did not go every 6 months, any insights?
Well, technically, it's I mean, I was guilty of that during the COVID time.
This is being recorded, Patrick.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's kind of a one-off situation. Somebody they might not bug, somebody that would just I don't know, you combed your hair wrong that day and they decided they're going to pick on you. I don't know, but theoretically, I know a lot of people that have kind of missed their date, but I wouldn't recommend it. So.
Yeah, me as well. Julie would like to know, how stable is the political climate, and how committed are they to freedom in light of past actions of the government? Is there any concerns about nationalizing the properties?
No, I mean, I could go into a long political story about Nicaragua and the concept of nationalizing properties, but there's no fear of that. I've had the farm for 17 years, I guess it is now, and had other properties, and I know a lot of people that have had properties there for 30 years or longer, and the government knows that. I think it was just last year, just before COVID, 2018, 19, sometime around there, tourism passed everything in terms of agriculture and everything else in the country for revenue, for GDP, basically. And so they know they know where their dollars for the country are coming from. They would never do anything like, try to take land away from anybody. The stories that people have heard about that in Nicaragua are a bit, you need to sort of have the background story. And anybody that wants to send me an email, I won't bore you to tears on tonight, but happy to kind of tell you exactly, what a lot of the countries in this region got kind of painted with by mainstream media in North America and what actually happens. So
I think the main thing to keep in mind is we are not investing in infrastructure. This is not, you're not buying a hospital. You're not buying an airport. You're not buying highways or something like that. These are small plots of land, small farmland off to the side. I just don't think that there will be any problems. Even in Venezuela, where there has been massive problems, it was always infrastructure type of things. It was not small little things like this being confiscated. So I would not be concerned about that.
And when it comes to proofs in the pudding, I mean, we've seen countries go crazy in the last 3 years, 2.5 years, and Nicaragua is one of the more sane ones out there. So, but,
any other comments on what the government is like? Corey would like to know. Actually, there's a couple of questions on the government, on Danny and the group.
well, I mean, I don't like to get involved in politics in any of these countries. I'm a resident. I'm not a citizen. I don't vote in these countries. Ultimately, Mikel, you and I have had this talk, and Ellie, we've all talked about this. We're visitors, right? We're visitors in these countries. We're residents, but we weren't born here. So I'm not going to comment on politics other than to say I've had nothing but good experiences with the government of Nicaragua. We do a lot of, our Help Them Help Themselves Foundation does a lot of work bringing things in, medical supplies. We brought in playgrounds for, there's a group out of Canada that, Canadians are always changing the laws on what's safe in school grounds. So schools have to get rid of a lot of playgrounds. They're perfectly good. In Nicaragua, they're happy to accept them. But we brought them down, and the people that sent down one of these containers full of playground equipment put on there that it was worth $850,000. And of course, the customs guys' eyes lit up, like, what is in these containers, right? So I had to get in touch with the government, and the presidential family, and ask them if they could help. And they turned it around very quick, and everything left customs and showed up at the site where we were there, because we were only there for 10 days. All these Canadians that came down were waiting for this stuff to come out of customs. So my experience has always been very positive. When there was a hurricane on the eastern side of the country, the government really stepped in and helped a lot of people. So I've never seen anything negative. It's a super friendly, culture, friendly people, and just great place. So I've never seen anything that makes me think anything negative. I'm not saying that, I can't promise what the future holds, but for me, it's been a great experience in Nicaragua.
Yeah, I agree completely. I finally came up with a great idea. Instead of having my questions off to the side on my second screen, I'm going to move them right here in the center, so you don't just see me staring off into the distance in the rest of this. I should have thought of this a couple of webinars ago. Okay, anonymous again. I wish I knew who you were. It doesn't have any name here. It just says anonymous attendee asks, can I buy 10 parcels?
Yeah, you better get in soon.
Yeah.
But,
happy to help. No problem there.
Yeah.
Mike says, for the record, I am in at this timestamp. What does that mean, Mike? What do you mean at this timestamp? Are we going to be doing like Veritas Village, where I think we had like 10 people were like, I'm number one. Well, actually, that was me who was number one, so I probably started it. It was like number one, number two, number three, and I think we sold 10 or 12 of them on the presentation. And I actually had clients who were emailing me and saying like, I was supposed to be number 3, but by the time I actually made my payment and got the money down there, I got bumped to number 9 and like wanted me to pull strings. I'm like, don't worry. You're going to get a good place. Don't worry. Like, we'll take care of you. It's going to be okay.
Well, and anybody that says they're in on this webinar, then we'll make sure you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Kurt would like to know. Kurt, how's it going? Good to see you. I saw your email the other day. It's really good to hear from you. Are these lots generational? So maybe you can talk about how it is held with the title deed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that generational stewarding wealth and everything is a common investment strategy that people use especially with teak, because it has a long cycle. A lot of people, like what we've seen in the past, a lot of people that are like grandparents will buy new grandchildren one of these parcels because the return will pay for their education in 20 years or whatever. So that's used a lot, and then they'll pass it down to their children and their grandchildren and so on and so on. And yeah, that's because, I mean, ultimately you'll harvest these trees, but then you're perfectly welcome to plant them again. I mean, avocado trees can live to be hundreds of years old, so that it can go for a long time.
Nice. So yes, Mike was calling dibs on a parcel. So I guess right. That's Mike is in.
We got you covered, Mike.
Don't worry. We'll take good care of you, brother. Okay. I saw a really good question. I wanted to go back up. This is a great one. Okay. Can I make the investment through my IRA?
That's a good question. Yes, certainly if it's not for residency, we'll have to check with a lawyer if it is for residency, because your application for residency means that you have to be the owner of the business. And if it's through an IRA ownership, we'll have to check on that one. That is a good question. I should know the answer to that, but I'd rather check with a lawyer. So if you could shoot us an email with that question, I would really appreciate it. We'll make sure tomorrow that we'll get the lawyer right on that and see if we can make the link between you owning the company and the IRA, then yes, but we'll have to make sure that's that's possible.
Okay. Brian says, what type of irrigation?
We have a water well there. We temporarily right now we have a little generator there, but we're putting in a solar powered system. And we use the water is really high quality from the well, and we just literally spread it all around to all the acreages.
Awesome. Karen would like to know, are there no tax implications in home country, Canada or the US, until revenue comes in? So I'm not giving you individual tax advice, and that's certainly outside of this presentation, but you pay taxes on income. If there's no income, then what would you be paying taxes on?
Well, if I recall, the last time I checked, I haven't done a Canadian tax return for a long time, but I used to have to check a little box that said I own $100,000 worth of offshore something or other asset, and it was just a checkbox in the Canadian tax return. They never did anything about it. But theoretically, if you bought 3 parcels, that would be over $100,000 worth of an asset, and you would have to check that box as a Canadian. Yeah,
I couldn't comment on the filing requirements. I mean, that's really outside the scopes of this webinar. You know, if you're owning assets outside of your country, how you're owning it in different types of structures, that, you know, we could take a call with the accountant. If you were a private client of mine, we would get into that. But as an American, as a Canadian, you can own investments in other countries. And, you know, with an American, if you're owning a property outside of your country of birth and it's done in your own name, then you don't even have to declare it. This will be done, if through residency, it's going to be done through a corporation. So there'd be filing requirements from that. But if it's not generating any income, then there'd be nothing to pay taxes on until there is revenue, basically.
Correct.
But once again, that is not individual tax advice whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm going to clarify mine too. My comment on Canadian checkboxes was not individual tax advice either.
Yeah, and probably 17 years old or something.
Exactly,
like
it's pretty dated advice, even if it was.
Yeah, these are all kind of things that we need to go through one by one, and we need to know people's situation. And
exactly.
We try to help as much as we can right now, but at the same time, there's certain things we can say and certain things we can't say. Brian also says, you mentioned fertilizer. Is it fertilizer or is it organic? What does that look like?
It's organic, and it comes from the horses and cows nearby.
Awesome. Special fertilizer. Traditional.
Traditional.
Anthony says, residency gets you a passport. No, residency does not get you a passport. Residency gets you a residency, which is the legal right to live and work in the country. A passport comes with your citizenship, which is a completely different thing. And certainly you're not getting a passport for $39,000 anywhere in the world. Yeah.
After 5 years of currently, if they keep the same system, after 5 years of residency in Nicaragua, you can apply for a passport. Currently, they don't have any additional costs for that. You can just go straight from residency to passport, but depends on which country you're coming from too. Some countries don't allow multiple citizenships. So.
Right.
Exactly. Karen says, "Tell Ali I'm in." Smiley face.
Smiley face.
Why Ellie? What did the rest of us do? Why Ellie?
Yeah, exactly. What are we? Chopped
It's
liver?
just a thing. It's just a thing.
Okay. Jeffrey says, thank you for offering. He's going to be in touch and he hopes to visit soon. Okay. Jerry would like to know, how does the parcel cash flow? Is there monthly cash flow projections? So I guess, well, that's the question. I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably best to look at the brochure first, which has a little bit more detail on the ROI. It won't cash flow monthly, but when the avocado is matured, it'll be kind of on a 6-month basis as they're harvested, and then on the thinnings, and then the final harvest for teak are kind of the big revenue chunks. But there is kind of semi-annual sort of, but it's probably best to kind of look through the ROI sheet that's in the brochure, and then we're happy to answer any more detailed questions about it.
Well, Ali, what you might want to do is send out the brochure to everybody who registered as well, because that's probably some really valuable information in there.
Yeah, so what we'll do is, and I was going to mention this at the end, but I'll mention it now, is that when we send out the recording of this presentation, because it is being recorded, we'll send it to everybody that registered, and we'll just include the brochure in that email. But just make sure, if you don't hear from us, within a couple of days and you're expecting to hear from us, take a look in your spam and make sure we didn't accidentally end up there. You can always reach out again to this email, expat@ecovillages.life, and say, hey, where's my recording, and where's my brochure, and we'll be happy to find another way to get it to you.
Amazing. Crystal says, I might have missed it, but did you say that if you buy 2 parcels, basically investing more than $75,000, then you were required to visit the country only once per year and not every 6 months?
Well, according to the lawyer, and like I said, we're taking our legal advice from the lawyer, that if you invest over $75,000, they don't tend to make you visit at all. But you might be an unusual case, and they might ask, but that's kind of where it seems to be going right now.
I would still recommend coming to the country every once in a while, even,
it's getting your residency
as well. So
yeah, and getting your residency is for the first time, they're going to want to interview you for like half an hour, and that usually is in person. So you may have to make at least one visit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you talk about the locals? What do you know about water reliability, roads, climate, altercations, nearby groceries, mail, delivery, marina for a boat? Ooh, marina for a boat. You should know a lot about that, Pat. Crime, cartels, law enforcement, rule of law. So can you maybe give us like a 5-minute talk about life in Nicaragua, what it's like?
Well, life in Nicaragua, first of all, it is ranked as one of the safest countries. Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua are all very safe countries. One of the things that Nicaragua did really well and smartly back in the 80s is they kind of, what's the saying, it takes a village to raise a child or whatever. They kind of created the what's it called, neighborhood watch type of thing, where the villages pretty much kept crime from happening. So Nicaragua never had any gangs, really, basically. So what Honduras, unfortunately, and El Salvador struggled with for a while, and they're getting better, but they had more of a gang problem where Nicaragua didn't. So that's one of the main reasons why Nicaragua is always ranked really high in safety. And it's just like very friendly people. It's one of the poorest countries, actually the second poorest country next to Haiti in all the Americas. But there's ample food, right? I mean, we got an avocado farm, and you've got bananas growing everywhere, and mangoes and papayas, and then most of the country lives near the ocean, so they can go fishing, or lakes. There's lots of lakes in the country. So it's not, even though it's a very poor country, it's a very happy country. It always ranks in one of the top 10 kind of in the world of happiest countries in the world. And that's partly because they're not connecting their dollars to their food source. So that really makes a big difference in safety. And that the area around the Cosiguina farm is very remote. Sometimes, during this time of year, the roads can get washed out, and it takes them a week to come in and fix it again. And the rain hard during this time of year. So there is actually a bus that goes all the way from Managua, the capital city, up to El Rosario, which is literally right on the edge of the farm. But there's sometimes where the bus can't go because the road isn't that great. And then the government comes in at the end of the rainy season, fixes the road all up again, and everybody's back to normal. but it's a remote area. There's the little town of Cosiguina I mentioned earlier actually has a ferry to El Salvador. So, and because of that, it has customs and immigration and a couple hotels. And I don't know what the population is, probably 1,000 people, but it's got a couple hotels. And so you can stay up there. They even have like hot springs pools in that town and stuff like that where you can go swimming. And like I said, it's really, really cool. Like the Cosiguina Lagoon and then the hot springs that come out of the side of the mountain is really amazing. But again, because it's a remote area of just kind of local families, crime is virtually non-existent because it's just a farming community. And so I don't know, there was a long list of things that they asked in there, and I'm not sure if I answered that.
I think you did pretty good.
Marina.
Oh, the marina.
Oh, yeah, the marina.
Well, I love sailing. People that know me, my son and I lived on a boat for a long time, and we love sailing. And one of the things that intrigued me to this property is if you look at it again on that, I don't know, Ellie, if we can flop back to that one picture of Cosiguina, and you can see the way that sand spit that comes out. Yeah, right at the top left, that kind of finger that comes out. And then on the inside of that is great for anchorage. It breaks the waves, but there's not really a lot of marinas. There's only one major or two major marinas in the whole country. So, but if you want it to be a little bit more remote, it's a beautiful place to anchor your boat there. There's a lot of fishermen there. I mean, they use the pangas, the kind of the 20-foot ferro cement boats, and they go out fishing on the bay all the time. But that's that they're not marina type people. They pull their boat back up onto the beach and tie it to a tree at night.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, so we have Julie who says we are in. Harley says I'm in. Email has been sent. And Gary
Awesome.
says I'm in. Please send me all the info and next steps to proceed. Thank you.
You got it.
Welcome
Great.
to the family, guys. That's awesome. I'm super happy for you.
I think
Julie,
you're supposed to say
Harley,
like,
and Gary.
welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family.
You guys are so
I don't even know what
intimidating.
accent it's supposed to be in.
I don't think that was an Italian accent.
No, that was certainly not attempting to be an Italian accent. Okay, I have several questions here. I'm not going to read them because they're relatively the same, but the general idea is replanting. How is that handled when it comes time to replanting?
Well, like the main harvest for the teak trees will be, they're about 2 years old, so it'll be roughly 22, 23 years from now. And it's, you could hire, our company to replant them. You could replant them yourself. You could plant something different on there if you don't want to do teak again, or you can leave the teak. You don't have to harvest the teak. You could leave them. Every year they gain in value. It's just at about 25 years is kind of the sweet spot where they're not going to gain as fast in value as they once were. But if you have a 50-year-old teak tree, that's more valuable than a 25-year-old teak tree. It's larger. You can make larger things out of it, in one solid cut. So it's your land. It's titled to your name, your company. You can do whatever you want. You can leave the trees to grow for the rest of their lives, or you could change it all to something else if you wanted to.
Okay. I'm going through this, and I'm if I don't ask your specific questions, that's because I feel like it's probably been answered, because these are kind of coming in at different times, and I'm only seeing the ones that are right in front of me. But if I don't ask your question, make sure that you send an email if you didn't get a specific answer, but I'm doing my best here. And I'm getting quite a few questions about Veritas Village. So, I'm not going to ask any of the questions about Veritas Village because I want to try to keep this about the residency option. The Veritas Village is super exciting though. And if you guys do send an email to Allie, she'll be able to talk to you about those things. Okay.
Lots of Veritas things going on in the background, and we're excited to talk about it, but probably best to wait a couple of weeks here. So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Pat, we need to have a rum together. I need the
I
update of what's going on. Okay, this is a really long one. I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically, what assurances are there that that the property will continue to be maintained and run and the upkeep on the property and everything like this?
Well, it's our company that's doing it. Like I said, it's my family's farm that we're subdividing. We're fully intending to keep it going. My son is, well, half my age, and he's going to keep it going. So the company is going to be around when the harvest happens, and if we want to replant again and do the same thing over, it's certainly doable. The assurance, I guess, is that we're good people. We've been around. I've been in the country for a long time. We have a great reputation with our eco villages and our agroforestry, and we're really just in the business of helping people find their lifestyles in this region.
Mm-hmm. Crystal says, can you spell the name of the nearby town? She would like to research it. Is it the one that's on the screen right now?
Well, you'd sort of see it. It's right at the base of that finger that goes up. It's a small village. That village is called El Rosario, EL space ROSARIO. And then about 8 miles away, 12 kilometers away to the right, kind of where the picture ends on the right, would be Potosi, POTOSI. If you go on Google Earth or Google Maps or whatever, and you go to the top of the country, top left side of the country, this is the end of the country. So it's pretty hard to miss that volcano and the lagoon. So you can kind of zoom in on that area. So.
Cool. Mike would like to know, what is the mix between avocado and teak trees? As in, on an example lot, how many avocado trees and how many teak trees?
You'll start with about 200 teak trees because they plant them quite close together, and then they thin them out. The lesser trees are thinned out over time, and then you'll end up at the end with the best, roughly 40 trees per parcel. And the avocado starts at about 2 dozen, a little bit more, 24 to 30 trees, and they're not thinned out, right? They're purposely planted there. And they'll be the same amount in years from now.
Cool. Laurel would like to know, how soon would one expect revenue after investment?
Well, the plants or the trees are 18 months to 2 years old now. Avocado generally starts bearing fruit in 4 to 5 years, sometimes a little bit earlier. Depending on the seasons that we get in terms of how much rain and everything. So what you could expect kind of in a couple of years, 2 to 3 years is probably when the revenue will start coming in.
Okay. Okay, Tom would like to know, is there any advantages to not being a citizen anywhere on the planet and just having residencies in favorable jurisdictions? So that's not possible, Tom. They're not going to allow you to go stateless. Although it would be nice to be stateless, then you also wouldn't have a passport, so you'd kind of be stuck in an airport. There are stateless people out there, and it's actually not a joke. It's like a real nightmare. Like society has no idea what to do with them. So you have to have a citizenship somewhere, which would be your passports or your travel document that you'd be able to travel between countries. And then you can really have a residency in as many countries as you can maintain. Now, I don't say that you can have as many residencies as you want, because usually there's some type of requirement in the country. Panama is 1 day every 2 years. Nicaragua, we're pretty much saying, if done correctly, it can be 1 day every year or possibly even less. But, some countries out there will require much more. Some will require hundreds of days. Some will require you be there for pretty much the entire year to keep your residency active. So a program that allows you to be there only 1 day every 2 years or 1 day every year is a huge advantage and a really great program for sure. Okay. Scott says that he missed some of the presentation. But the portion that he did see was very informative, so thank you. He wants to know, how long is the contract for? And the peace of mind add-ons would be paid for the duration of the contract. Are they both necessary or just the maintenance work? So I think this is the insurance contract specifically that he's talking about.
Right. I mentioned it earlier, and hopefully can watch the recording and see that. But basically, you know, the insurance at some point, I would say, you know, when the teak trees are 4 or 5 years old, that maybe the insurance isn't necessary anymore because they can withstand, you know, termites, fire, just about anything. So then it's not as important as it is when they're younger. So, and we don't, you know, you can cancel your insurance at any point, so it's fine. But we just recommend it because, you know, you're not generally there all the time and living there, and if, you know, you want to make sure that your trees do, you know, if there is some catastrophic event, you know, you'd lose a little bit of time, but we'd replant everything with you know, trees again, and you would, you know, you wouldn't have lost everything. You might, if it happened today, you might have lost 18 months of time because, you know, that we're going to put in new trees again, but they're younger trees. But at least you have that peace of mind that it's not a loss.
The second part to his question is, can he build a house on the plot? We've had a few questions like this as well. And I know you mentioned it quickly, but maybe 30 seconds to go over it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing right now. It's we're just in the process of renewing our reforestation certificate, and that's just waiting for the paperwork. It's all been green lighted and everything, and it's renewed. But so if that's important to you, it doesn't really affect your residency or your revenue or anything. But if it's important to you to be that your farm is a certified reforestation farm, then you may not be able to build a house on it. Obviously, because if you're cutting down trees to build a house, then it might say, well, you know, we're not going to certify that anymore. But I mean, it's your property. It's, you know, you can do whatever you want with it. You can, you know, you just go out and get a permit to build a home in the local municipality, and away you go.
Yeah, we're very libertarian about these types of things. So, you know, we'll try to give you guys the best information possible and try to help you every step of the way, but the decision is yours. I mean, you are the owner, so you will take your responsibility for yourself at that point. Johnny says, I'm in, smiley face, and he says possibly 2 parcels. So
Nice.
I love all the smiley faces.
I know, it's good. I like how it somehow caught on with the I'm in. I think this is brilliant. I love it. So good. Okay, Ali, I want to hear a Italian accent for welcome to the family.
Oh no. Welcome to the family.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Wow.
Very, very impressive. I felt like I was back in Rome.
Did you?
That's a stretch, but okay.
Okay. All right, we're down to our last couple of questions here. We've done really well. I mean, well, we're kind of at the 2-hour mark, going on 2 hours, but if there's any more questions, please put them in the chat box. I'm going to try to pound through these last couple of ones. Jerry asks, talk about the revenue aspects. How much does it cash flow? Can you bring back up the slide for us, please, of the projected returns?
I can.
Maybe if you can
just
leave
remember
that one up there for a minute, and I'll let Jerry read that
Yeah.
one. Johnny would like to know, do I have to stay in the country while the immigration process is ongoing?
Basically, when you apply for the residency, the lawyer will talk to you about all this, but basically they'll ask for, they don't always, but generally they'll ask for an interview, and that has to be in person unless you have a really good excuse for not being in the country to do that interview. But you generally will know, like they'll say, okay, it's not always that much time that they'll give you. Maybe they'll call on a Tuesday and say, hey, next Wednesday, we'd like to interview you. And the interview is very simple. It's like, you know, what are you planning on doing with your farm? And simple answers. It's just, I'm going to grow trees, and, you know, that's pay my bills, that kind of thing. But they just want to see that, you know, there's some potential employment from your farm, and there is, right? We employ the people that are maintaining it and taking care of it, and, you know, all those things. So it's a pretty simple process, but sometimes they don't give you all that long of a time, you know, of notice. So during that kind of application period, you do need to be a little bit flexible if you can. And if you have to reschedule, because there's so many people going through the process right now, you know, it could delay it for another 3 months or something. If you say, I can't make it next Tuesday, can we do it after that? They might give you another date that's quite a ways down the road.
Okay, awesome. A couple of questions here on entering the country, PCR test, vaccine requirements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Any insights from that front?
Yeah, they don't need any vaccine. You don't need a vaccine to enter the country. You don't need to wear masks once you're there. I think they still, as of a couple of weeks ago, if you're not vaccinated, then they require a test, a COVID test. But I'm guessing, like everywhere else, that's going to be dropping pretty soon.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, we've done it. 132 questions.
Nice.
Well, I guess a couple of those were comments from people on where they were from and stuff. It's a lot of questions we went through. Amazing. Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you very much, Ali. I appreciate you taking an extended time and going through all of the questions for my people. Ali, maybe you could show up the email address one more time and maybe just quickly talk again about the opportunity if someone decides that they want to move forwards on this presentation, the special offer that you made him, because I think it is very generous.
Perfect. So if you are here live watching this, or maybe you're going to be watching the recording later, this email address, expat@ecovillages.life, will put you directly in touch with myself, Patrick, Mikkel, and Andrea. Will all get you taken care of. There is a short 2-page form that we'll have you fill out and let us know how you would like to move forward with funding your investment. And once we have that back from you, our accounting team will contact you with your invoice, whether you decide to move forward with insurance and maintenance and all of those things. We will send you your ownership package, which will include all of those details about the parcel and the agreements and everything like that. We'll, after that, we'll introduce you to the residency attorney and off you go.
And maybe you can just also say about the special opportunity for hint, hint, wink, wink. You made these guys a promise here, Ali. I'm going to hold you to it.
I did, but I'm Italian now, so you know. So until August 15th, you have until August 15th to step up and say you're ready to move forward. We will include your residency process fees for up to 2 people. So $39,000 residency fees, process fees are included in that if you choose to move forward before August 15th.
Amazing. Okay, we did it. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate everyone staying. I know it's probably almost 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast. Panama, it's almost 9 o'clock. So it's time to sign off. Thank you very, very much. Tom says, thank you. AP has one last question. They says, does the $39,000 provide residency? Yes, AP, the $39,000 contains residency as well. We're going to send you the recording for this. So everybody who's registered today, we'll send you the recording. It'll probably take, what, 24 hours, I would guess. We'll email it out. If you don't get it within 24 hours, check your spam folder. Sometimes they go in the spam folder. And we will be happy to answer any questions that you have. And I think that's it.
Thanks a
Jerry
lot,
says
Mikkel.
thank you. Kim says thank you. Tom says thank you. AP says thanks. Stevenson says, thanks for the presentation and opportunity. You're welcome. AP says, thanks. Lance says, thank you. Lots of thank yous here. My pleasure. Thank you very much, Patrick and Ali, and we'll see you guys later, okay?
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.